Here we go again. Well, what do we have here? Saiyan MGTOW here with over 9,000 opinions. Welcome to the video. The following is based on the assumption that Trump did in fact say... Oh wait, I guess a little side note. Political commentary. The following is based on the assumption that Trump did in fact say the alleged comment, "Why do we want people from shithole countries coming here?" So Trevor Noah has a new video on YouTube. Let's check it out. I don't like increasing his view count, but I feel like at this point people aren't on the fence about Trevor Noah. They won't all of a sudden start believing that he is legit because he got an extra million views. I'll start off by saying that Trump's comments were unacceptable and vulgar for a president or a government official or anyone really to say. I'd be more understanding if Trump was very drunk at a party, but this was, and he wasn't president, but this was a meeting with other officials. America is full of people from all different countries, and I think all the people in that room, including Donald James Trump, are from countries that have shithole places and wonderful places. But Trump should know that what he said was too far, but he didn't, because in heated moments of debate, he goes a little off the rails and says over-the-top statements to try and persuade people to do something he wants, like agree with him. Also, I think he's just a pretty harsh person. Also, he has too big of an ego to admit he was wrong, or maybe also awareness to say that what he had just said was inappropriate and that he didn't mean it to be that harsh. Obviously, also, some countries are just objectively better than others when it comes to education, utilities, economies, healthcare, mortality rate, crime rate, death rate, poverty level, etc. Does that mean you should ever say America doesn't want anyone from shithole countries? No, of course not. But I think it is perfectly rational that we should prefer to bring in people who will help this country in the greatest possible way. And I think it is perfectly rational to say that we should bring in some people from all countries every year, say 1,000 from everywhere. But should we pretend like some countries don't have more people that would aid the country than other countries do? These awesome people I'm talking about would not only generate more revenue for the government by working here at a high-paying job, or maybe even create jobs or start a business. I'm sure every country has these game changers and lovers of America and believers in freedom and hard work and hot dogs. And I'm not defending Trump's very insensitive comment. I'm just saying, MGTOW. Let's start the video.
Today, we were planning to talk about how South Korea's president credited Donald Trump's aggressive rhetoric for getting North Korea to the negotiating table. Right? So that's what he came out and said. And I was going to be like, wow, Donald Trump, it looks like you did something right. You know, I swear, that's what we were going to do. And then he did something Trump.
Lol.
Washington Post reported minutes ago that today in the Oval Office, President Trump grew frustrated with lawmakers discussing immigration when they floated restoring protections for immigrants from Haiti, El Salvador, and African countries as part of a bipartisan immigration deal. The Post
Okay, so Trump was frustrated in a meeting. I'm not sure why he wouldn't want to restore the protections on the immigrants. Are they just temporary immigrants? If not, then why would they need Donald James Trump to restore their protections? I think we should look into all of our immigrants that aren't fully immigrated into this country for whatever reason and see if we want to restore their protections. And then if the answer is yes, then do it. And if the answer is no, then we should deport them or give them a label like working immigrant or tax-paying citizen, not American citizen. But don't have it so the government has to restore your protections every couple years unless you are a refugee then it makes sense. Moving on.
Reports that according to two people briefed in the meeting, the president asked, quote, "Why are we having..."
I thought that was weird too. According to two people briefed in the meeting? Does that mean they were in the meeting and briefing was going on during the meeting? Or does that mean they were briefed in what was happening in the meeting, so they weren't there? I'm not sure. I think they were there.
People from shithole countries come here, referring to African countries and Haiti. The president then went on to talk about how they needed to bring in more people from places like Norway.
Guys, I don't know how to break this to you, but I think the president might be racist.
If Donald Trump is saying no people from Chad get to come into America because Chad is such a terrible country that surely no one is at high enough caliber to join us here in America, and if he really thinks that about all of Africa, he's probably racist. At the very least, delusional. If we block off any group as a whole, when some of them are amazing people who never hurt a fly and would make America great, or would make great Americans, then we are being very rude. But does Donald James Trump think the problem is with Africans themselves, biologically? Or does he just think most of the people in those countries lives in a poop hole? Not literally. So perhaps it has nothing to do with race, a social construct, and everything to do with quality of life and the smell of shit that Donald Trump thinks would hold back, I'm sure, millions of amazing people that are proving him wrong right now as I speak and are changing the world. Maybe not even with America's help, or even in spite of us. But is DT a racist? Maybe, more likely just insensitive.
No, wait, hear me out. I know I sound crazy. And you know what, personally, as someone...
Trevor is joking that he sounds crazy, because if you believe the left-wing narrative and news cycle for 2 straight years, then you would probably pretty much know for a fact that Donald Trump is a stone-cold white skinner who can't stand brown people. Humbug. Get it?
From South shithole, I'm offended, Mr. President. Okay, I'm offended. Because not only does he think brown countries are shitholes, he thinks what?
Whoa. I was gonna say here that there are tons of other countries that have brown-skinned people, like India and Peru, but obviously Africans have a unique tones of brown, and I guess that is what Trevor is saying here. So is Trevor saying that the term brown people now refers to African descendant people only? But Trevor knows that Haiti is on a different continent, right? I guess African descendant would still qualify, but what about the Dominican Republic? Are they brown? Is Donald James Trump suggesting we don't restore those immigrants' protections? Also, there are non-brown people who are from Africa, and their non-brown families before them are from Africa, and so on. I would think a South African would know that. So Trevor is generalizing about race. If I said America is a white country, would that make a ton of sense? I hope not. Why is Trevor tossing around misinformation?
But we're never gonna know what he said? I mean, don't get me wrong, it might take a few weeks, but as soon as the news donkey reaches our village, we'll be so mad!
I like this joke. But it is funny because we all understand how limited some places in Africa can be. So isn't he kind of validating Trump's comment? Also, isn't he perpetuating the notion of Trump's alleged comment about how much of Africa is unlivable and underdeveloped? If you need a male donkey? What if Trevor made a joke about how his African friends got the news on their tablet on their Segway at a drive-through Starbucks in Cape Town? That would fit the narrative that Africa is 21st century, which I'm sure parts of it are. Just saying.
So mad! What do you think? And I know that everyone's focusing on him calling countries shitholes and whatever. And I'm like, well, whatever, you can say whatever you want, but...
Yes, people should be mad if their country is called a shithole. However, they should look internally and see how much validity Trump's alleged comment has about the state of their country. Obviously, every country has things they need to work on, and we shouldn't name-call other countries or pass judgment on them unless they are committing some kind of international crime.
You know what part really put it over the line for me?
Which part?
Is Norway. Yeah, when he said where he wanted immigrants to come from, he didn't just name a white country. He named the whitest country. Yep.
So yes, the vast majority of the people of Norway are white. But again, maybe Trump is not praising Norway for racial reasons, but because living standards are excellent and they have booming industry and research and people who would make America great again in higher numbers than many quote-unquote brown countries, according to Trump. But haha, Trump's a racist, right? Lol.
Yeah, he didn't even go with like a more subtle country that might leave it up in the air, you know? Like, we need to let in more people from Portugal. And you're like, what does that mean? No, he goes with Norway. People...
A subtle country like Portugal. What does that mean? I'm asking. What does that mean? He was talking about race, about how white Norway is, and then he said subtle country. So, racially subtle? What does that mean? I can make a whole video about the nonsense of that.
Super white, so white they wear moon screen. That's how white they are. It's almost like yesterday when Trump met with the Prime Minister of Norway. He was like, what do you guys do with your black people? And she was like, oh, we don't have any. He was like, wow.
What do you guys do with your black people? When young Americans of African descent especially hear that joke, I think it hurts their self-worth. This is kind of the same thing as my problem with people calling Trump's selective immigration ban a Muslim ban. I believe this hurt Muslim Americans that were from countries not on the list's self-worth and made them question their place in our nation, more than it should have because of the language they used. It was not a Muslim ban. Many thousands of Muslims from all over the world entered the U.S. with no problems during the time of the so-called Muslim ban. Did I like the hassle that many good people had to go through just because they were coming from a certain country? It depends. Of course, I know the government is inept and time-consuming, so I'm sure it could have been much, much better. But yes, we need to do a little more research into everyone who comes from Syria or Iran or Libya as opposed to Greenland or Nepal or Chile, for instance. Does anyone disagree? Leave a comment in the comment section below. So just what do you do with your black people? Jeez. See, he's equating that with the shithole comments. Jeez. To recap, anyone who says the phrase shithole countries is being very rude and dumb, and yet there is a reality that some countries overall are much worse than others and produce lower numbers of highly educated, well-trained, technically advanced potential immigrants than other countries do. So if our policy is we want 2,000 exactly from this country and 2,000 exactly from that country, we might be missing out on 50 awesome potential immigrants from that country, when in reality we should have only had brought in 1,950 from this other country over here. So I still do want like a base level from every country, right? But somewhere between that base level and whatever high level we have for every country, there needs to be a minimum and then a judgment call based on individuals. Okay? I don't think the judgment call should be, 3,000 from France and only 1,000 from Lebanon. It should be based on individuals, so it should be, we want the best 100,000 people period. But also, we're going to have that minimum, right? So it's going to be at least, 1,000 people, say, from every country. But then after that, then we're going to get the best. What's wrong with that? That's just Saiyan MGTOW's opinion. So Saiyan MGTOW here with over 9,000 thank yous for watching the video. The end.